Welcome! In this series of short videos, we will look at topics for the PowerBasic Windows compiler. Today we will look again at the use of OpenGL, that's the Open Graphics Library, within your applications. When programming in the PowerBasic for Windows compiler, there are two options you can use when designing windows and dialogues. You can use the inbuilt dynamic dialog tools, which are easy to use and allow you to create Windows objects easily. The second option is to use Windows API calls, and what is generally known as the SDK, the Software Development Kit. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to delve into the world of the Software Development Kit. As you can see on screen, we have the beginnings of an application. However, we do not have a pb-main function as we would do with the dynamic dialog tools. We have a win-main function. This is a function that will first be executed when you are creating an application that will use the Software Development Kit. As you can see, it has 4 parameters it takes in when the application is launched: the instance of the application, the previous instance, in other words, the application that has called this one, a command line option, and a show option. So this is how we're going to create this application. As we are going to be using the OpenGL libraries, there are a number of declarations for functions within that library we're going to have to make at the beginning of our application. And these are those declarations. Using the OpenGL32DLL and also the GLU32.dll. We'll cover these functions as we come to them in the code. However, there is nothing extra you need to add to your Windows operating system, as these two libraries are included with Windows. There are also a number of constants which we're going to use within this application to allow us to call functions within these two libraries. And these are those constants. Again, we'll cover these as we come to them in the code. So what is going to be the purpose of this application? What's it actually going to do? What we're going to create is a 3-dimensional view of a box, and within that box there will be 50 spheres. These spheres will be randomly generated with one of 3 colours: red, green or blue. And I want the spheres to be gradient filled, so they are going from a dark to a lighter green colour or red or blue. So again, we're going to need some global variables to allow us to track the position of these spheres and their colour. I also want a rotation round this box containing these spheres. So we're going to create some more globals. And these are our additional global variables. We're using a number of arrays to allow us to track the positions and colours of these spheres. And we're using a constant to set the number of spheres in this application. At the moment, we're leaving this as 50. So what changes do we need to make to allow us to create a window using the Software Development Kit? So since we're using the Software Development Kit, we need to put a little more work in to create our window. So we're going to define a class, and we're going to populate our class with the information needed to create the window. And here is the name of that class. And we're using the user-defined type defined in Windows for our Windows class information. And we're setting each of the attributes of that to allow us to set up our window. This is where you can set up your icon and a cursor. But for the moment, we're setting both of these as null. And then we can call the register class extended API function call. Next, we're going to call the Windows API call, which actually creates the window. And then we need to show this to the user. And there is the call to create Windows extended. In here, we can set the title of our window and the other details like the location on screen, X and Y coordinates, and the width and the height of the window, just like you would do if you're setting up a new dialog in Dynamic Dialog Tools. Then we show the window and we call the update window function. These are both using a handle obtained when we created the window. There's only a very little code needed in this winMain function to finish it off. Since we want our application on screen to display a box with spheres inside it, we want to set a timer. This will allow us to show a rotation of these objects each time our timer is triggered. So we're going to use a Windows API call to set the timer. We've used the setTimer API call in a number of other applications using Dynamic Dialog Tools. Next, we have to put in a message pump. This is something that picks up the messages, translates them, and dispatches them. And this is the do loop, which is our message pump. When we were setting up our window, we populated this line of code. This defines the name of the callback procedure, the event handler for our window, which is very similar to the type of callback you would use within the Dynamic Dialog Tools window. So next we're going to create that callback function, the event handler. And here is that function taking 4 parameters: the handle of the window, the message we're processing, and the 2 parameter values, as you would have in a Dynamic Dialog Tools function. Next, we're going to determine what to do based on the message parameter that's coming in. And as you would expect, there are going to be a number of different types of event. The first one we're going to document is the WM create. It will be triggered when the window is first created. As we're going to be using some randomizing routines within this application, our first task will be to set the randomize value using our timer. We will fill out the rest of this particular event later on. But we're next going to put a few other events in place. And these are our other events. One to handle the resizing of the dialog, one for the triggering of the timer, one for repainting the screen, one for detecting a key press on the keyboard, and one to handle what happens when the dialog or window is actually closed. So we're going to put some code in here to allow us to test the creation of our window. Since we've already set a timer up, we're going to put a piece of code in to stop the timer when the window is destroyed. This is using the killTimer API call, which we've used in previous videos. Next, we're going to populate the keyDown event. We want to trap when the user has pressed the escape key on the keyboard. And when they have done this, we want to trigger the closing down of the application. We can do this quite easily by testing the value of wparam. If this is equal to the constant vk escape, then we know the escape key has been pressed on the keyboard, and we can trigger a close down. This is done via another API call called postMessage, sending a close message back to the system. So if we add a post quit message to our destroy event, we should have enough now to test the creation of our window and the ending of the application when the escape key is pressed. So if we run the application now, there is our window with its title at the top, and if we hit the escape key on the keyboard, it should now terminate. We'll just try that once more. There's our application, and there is it closing. So we have basic event handling operational within the application. Now all we need to do is to draw the box and position the spheres within it. So we can now populate our create event. Our first task will be to initialize the sphere data. And we're going to create a subroutine whose task in life will be to perform that function. So let's now go and create that new function. And here is our new function to initialize the sphere data by giving random positions and color to our 50 spheres. So since we'd set a constant to set the number of spheres at 50, we'll need to redimension all of our arrays from 1 to the value of 50. These are single dimension arrays. Next, we don't want the spheres overlapping the box itself. So we're going to set a margin to keep the spheres away from the edge of the box. And next we'll step through using a for next loop for each of the spheres, setting their x, y and z coordinates, and also setting the radius of the sphere using our random command. Next we're going to set a random colour for the spheres, basically 0, 1 or 2. This will allow us to pick red, green or blue. And we'll store those values within these arrays. And this will initialize our sphere data. So the next thing to do in our create event is to prepare our drawing surface. We can pick up the device context handle of our window using the getDC command. Next, we're going to populate this PFD pixel format descriptor user-defined type. Next, we're now preparing the rest of the code needed to set up our window. The user may wish to resize the window at any time, so we're going to put some code into the WM size event to allow that to be handled. Next, we're going to put code into our timer event. The purpose of this timer event is to advance the angle at which we view the objects on screen, and then effectively redraw the screen, triggering the paint event. And there we have the code. We're advancing the angle by 0.6. If this has now got beyond the 360, we're resetting the angle itself. And we're calling another Windows API call, invalidate rectangle, which will trigger our repaint event to redraw the screen for the user. So having done that, we can now look to populate the paint event itself. So the code we're going to use will be between a begin paint and end paint command. So we're going to use a new subroutine called render scene, and then we will swap the buffers. Using the buffers is a quick way of getting information onto the screen without flicker. So let's now go and create the render scene subroutine. So here is our new subroutine to render the scene, rotating and displaying the spheres. There's no attempt to set the lighting of the spheres, but we are using the tint of the colour to give a simulated three-dimensional view to the whole object. So we're stepping through a for next loop for each of the spheres. And we're going to draw the spheres using a subroutine dedicated to that task, which will draw a gradient colour on each of the spheres based on the information within our arrays. And having drawn the spheres, we're going to put a glass box on screen. This is our three-dimensional box to give the illusion of glass walls. And it's going to call another function to draw the box faces. And then finally, the edges of the box as the final task. So we have some new routines to add. First of all, the drawing of the gradient sphere. And here is the routine that draws the gradient sphere. As you can see, it has quite a number of parameters coming in, both single and long values. And our task in here is to draw the gradient-filled sphere. We've already set up the GL smooth constant to ensure that shading has been enabled. This allows us to give a nice-looking gradient fill. And of course, we're going to be using pi within this. We are, of course, making heavy use of the cosine and sine commands within PowerBasic to allow us to draw each of these strips in turn. So we have two more routines to do, one to draw the box faces and one to draw the box edges. So here we have the routine to draw each of the 6 box faces, the front, back, left, right, top and bottom values. Each of these uses this particular OpenGL function, the vertex 3f. And I'm using the prefix command here to make our code look a little tidier. And for the box edges, we're using something very similar. So if we now have a look at the functions and subroutines within our application, we have our winMain, which is the first function to be triggered, we have the event handler, and we have 5 subroutines. One to render the scene, one to initialize our sphere data, one to draw the gradient sphere on each of the spheres, and 2 functions to draw the box, one for the faces and one for the edges. If we try a quick compile to make sure our application compiles, which it does, and we attempt to run the application. This will now display our box on screen. And each of the spheres is displayed, and our position and view of this box is being rotated. Spheres which are further towards the back are shown as smaller. And the application appears to be handling it very well. We do actually have 2 spheres which appear to be almost joining. So in summary, what we've achieved today is we've created an application using the Windows SDK, the Software Development Kit. And we're using OpenGL calls to display a translucent, 3-dimensional box on screen filled with no less than 50 spheres. And if we hit the escape key, it allows us to close the application. We can, of course, increase the number of spheres. Let's push it up to 100. And if we run the application now, we'll see there is no delay in the running of the application. And we now have many more spheres on show. So while this is not a particularly useful application, it does demonstrate what you can do with OpenGL libraries. Hopefully you'll find these techniques useful in your own applications, but that's it for today. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching today's video. Please feel free to click on the link in the description below to discover more videos.